Hello and welcome to another edition of Moments with Mindleaps. My name is Rebecca Davis and I'm the Executive Director of Mindleaps. And some of you have heard me say this before, but I say it every Friday because it's very true. This is my favorite part of my job right now. I get to interview on Fridays artists, dancers, choreographers, creatives, researchers from around the world that are using their craft to really impact their communities. Many of them have touched the Mindleaps world, but beyond Mindleaps, they're doing really wonderful things literally all around the world. And today, our special guest is Sheila Grant. And I could speak about Sheila for a long, long time. Mindleaps has been fortunate to know Sheila for just about 2 years. But Sheila has an extensive career, much of it based in Europe, and she's performed in several West End musicals. She has a BA, a Bachelor's of Arts, in dance and choreography, and she's taught and choreographed for different workshops and different classes and different studios, again, all around the world. Argentina, Uruguay, Guinea, Rwanda, and I could just keep listing all of these countries. So Sheila's going to be joining us today. Hi, Sheila.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Great, thank you. I was just having the joy of listing off some of the countries that you've worked in as an artist and covered part of South America and Europe and Africa. And I probably could have kept going until you joined. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Moments with Mindleaps has been really in a great position to speak with a lot of dancers who are following different kinds of careers. And Sheila joins us not only from a professional dance background, but a professional musical theater background. So we get to learn a little bit more about that today too. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
So dance and beyond dance, singing, which we're always so impressed with your voice, and theater, and all of these things have really touched your life in different ways. And they've brought you around the world, and they've brought you into the hearts of Mindleaps kids. Tell us a little bit about how all of that started for you in your life. Did it start in Scotland? Did it start somewhere else? Where does the story begin?
It did. It started in Scotland. It started in Edinburgh. Fairly classic set up. My mum took me to ballet classes as a hobby when I was a little girl, and I think I was 2.5. I don't know what you do at 2.5. Skip around the room. Yeah, I don't know. It's child minding, I think. But we did. I went to some movement thing at that point, and my mum would always take me to the theatre at Christmas when the ballets were on, and if any musical ever came to town to Edinburgh, we'd try and see that. And I think that's where the spark started. I was kind of mesmerised by people on stage, and I felt like they were another being, and actually didn't realise it was a career. It was just for me an experience to watch. And yeah, like they weren't real people. It's strange. I was quite separate from it all. And then as I got a bit older, I got past the awkward teenage stage when you're really not cool to be doing ballet at 13 still, and your friends had all stopped when they were 8, and you're still like creeping to ballet with your hair in a bun, like. And I was from a school that really wasn't a cool thing, so I got past the awkward stage, and then in my teens I started being like, wait, these people on stage, did they train? Or I mean, I knew no one, Rebecca, that was a dancer. It's like nothing. So I started looking in the back of the programs. What do you call them in America? The program, yeah.
Like the synopsis or the credits and the bios?
Yeah, exactly. And I was looking and seeing these people were going to colleges and training, and so I decided to like research some colleges and realized it could be a career. Yeah, I know. I mean, maybe because this was all before social media, it seems so silly to be like 16 and not realize that. But at that point, I was increasing my dance classes and doing tap and jazz, and then I decided to go for it and audition for colleges, and I moved to London, and I trained in a 3-year program at Bird College, which is a dance and theatre performance college. So we did it's like 16 years ago, but it's heavily dance, and we also have voice classes and singing and ensemble singing and accent work. So it was a rounded career, and a lot of people from where I trained, they either went down kind of a dance company route, or they kind of went to musical theatre or commercial dance, so TV. So I ended up falling into musical theatre, which I love, and I've had, like you were saying, a career mainly in musical theatre. I've done some straight plays as well. And yeah, that and what dance means to me from when I was that little 2-year-old running around in a pink skirt to now is completely different. So now dance to me is literally about how we connect in the world and how we communicate, and it's actually integral completely in my life and my work of what I do now. So yeah.
I love the fact that you figured out how to build your career by looking at bios and programs. I think that that's probably the most creative, most creative research technique that I've heard about in terms of people who go from the studio to the stage. So that's brilliant. Also, what you say about, you know, being a young kid going to the theater and it feels like an experience, it doesn't feel like a career. It's actually similar to part of my story. I remember being like 5 years old watching the Nutcracker, and you know, when everything transforms on stage, like you feel like you're transported to another world, and then like 20 years later you're like, oh, the Nutcracker, why go see that show again? But there's something really magical that happens with live theater, which is also something that's like, I think people are really recognizing and embracing right now with COVID too.
Absolutely. I think that's like what we're missing, isn't it? That we have these experiences, and it's actually not just escapism, it's also telling stories and sharing that and being connected, and as an audience member watching something as a group all together and having a feeling, because it's an empty auditorium doesn't create that. A group of people in a collective space does. Same with colleagues on stage performing. So it's something that I think we all miss as professional performers at the moment, and as audience members. Theatre is vital for us to share our stories and connect too.
Yeah, that connection, I think, is such a critical part of the live arts. And as you touched on a little bit, I mean, your career is really interesting because it is beyond dance, both in terms of how you think about movement and what you think about that meaning, but also in terms of actually like the stage work that you've done in West End and in all of these different countries where you've been teaching workshops and working with different groups of people as well. I wonder if there might be something that you might like pull out for us as like a highlight or something where among that kind of depth of experience that you really thought like this particular gig or this particular opportunity really started to kind of like turn those wheels in new directions.
A wheel turning moment for me, aside performing on stage, so aside like a professional credit, which I've enjoyed all the shows that I've done, and I've learned from every single one something. But a wee bit of a shift in mentality for me was I was teaching, I was assisting on a piece with children with special educational needs. We took a group to Belgium to perform a First World War piece of theatre that they created, and these children had physical, mental, and emotional needs. And in this square in Belgium, as we were performing this work, and all of the passers-by started joining in and clapping, and everyone dancing together. I had this really light bulb moment that actually what I thought like maybe of dance being like something up there on a stage is not at all. And it was a perfect example of dance as therapy, just as music is a therapy too. And these children just were able to express through that and connect with strangers. And I just stood in that square in Belgium and just thought, this is really like people enjoying movement. This is what it's about. It's not about, sadly, sometimes if you do 8 shows a week, colleagues get complacent and it becomes a job. And it's not that's not what dance is about. It's not why anyone went into it. And to me, I think if you don't enjoy it, leave, you know, so, or find something that you do find excitement in and passion in. So this moment was a turning point for me too.
I love the way you describe it, and I think it's like, again, a reminder of like the power of the tool and the art form, that sometimes, yeah, it becomes a job, and it becomes, you know, this job and then that job, and then we build a schedule and we stretch and we get the paycheck, but it's so much more than that. And it's something that you land in Belgium and there's no translator, there's no borders, it's just this experience that builds that community so almost instantaneously. I know that that's also something you experienced in a different way, not really Belgium. Well, you came to Conakry, Guinea in West Africa with Mindleaps. So many of you have heard me talk about my favorite group, who's endearingly called the Guinea Girls, because we had these 4 powerful women come to Guinea with us in December, all led by our masterful Caitlin Casson, and do wonders in 2 weeks and impress all of us. And we have many of our friends here, Martin and Ansu and Olivier, who's heard about you in Rwanda, Sheila, because he keeps asking me when you're going, with Mindleaps back to Rwanda, and Bashir, of course. So tell us a little bit, you had so many of these other experiences before you came with Mindleaps on this program, and then you spent time in this country working with these kids. I mean, it's kind of impossible to ask you to explain it all, but maybe there's like a moment or a memory or a story that stands out for you that you could share with us to give us a little bit of insight into what that kind of experience was like.
I
know I'm asking you to narrow down, like,
yeah, I mean,
a brain full of ideas to one moment.
One moment from the time that I was physically in Conakry, I was going to talk about something that happened before I got there, but when I was there was one day, Rebecca, and you know how you say sometimes so the warm-up is extremely physical, like 1 hour, and then suddenly like the energy can slump a little bit. And I remember you saying like, oh, you know, if the music's off and you need to keep the energy high. And I just started this chant, and I just remember I was like, I did it like once, that rhythm, and everyone erupted and the room was going and everyone was jumping, doing the same chant and hugging each other, and I couldn't stop it. It just carried on, and I just thought, this is incredible. Like, how can you get this amount of energy from young people? Yeah. And I think it was that for me from Guinea, was the energy in the room was just blew my mind, and I've never ever seen it anywhere else in all the countries I've worked with, all the children or young adults. It was electric. So for me, Guinea to me was like power and energy and fire. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, power, energy, fire. We could rename Guinea to be power, energy, fire, I think.
Yeah.
It's so appropriately summarized. And I think like yourself, you know, with this tremendous professional experience as a dancer, and then even then, these kids and this culture can impress like even the highest dancers with that power and that energy and that fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell us, you wanted to share something about what happened before you landed in Guinea, and now I'm curious. Go for it.
Yeah, it was my story into it, actually, Rebecca, because there's another light bulb moment where my career from being purely on stage as a performer switched to well, it was also, I was doing other things as well, like teaching and things, but a big shift for me in where I was focusing my energy and my teaching happened when I had a kind of troubling experience in an airport in Moscow. Yeah, and there was a girl in trouble, and she was very, very upset and crying on the floor. And it turned out after a long period of time that she had been moved through the airport by traffickers. And I managed to get this much from her and realized that she really needed help. And I think after that moment that I had with her, we spent kind of 12 hours together, and I came back from that feeling very strange about what am I doing? Like, what am I actually doing? I'm chasing like performing jobs, but why? I don't have the reason why. I love dance, and that's a fantastic reason and a start to it, but something I had a lot of problems thinking about how can I use dance in a different way. And that's when I went over to Rwanda to volunteer with a charity called Together in Sport Rwanda, the amazing Carrie Spence, a girl from my hometown in Scotland, set up. And we went to the Bugesera region in Rwanda. And then somebody out the blue in London, literally at a party or a meeting, handed me a piece of paper saying, oh, you should contact this company called Mindleaps. And then I contacted you and I was like, that's it. That is it. Now it makes sense.
Well, on our side, when I remember us going through training applications for this training that we do every summer for people interested in learning the curriculum of Mindleaps, and we're like, Sheila's already been to Rwanda. She might already know everything. And then we were very happy to have you join us and share your international knowledge, but then steal you for Guinea.
No, I don't know everything, and it's so fantastic to train with Mindleaps because your training style is just like the energy that you need, and the fact that you're really, for me, Mindleaps has given me an understanding on what skills a child needs to improve. Before I knew like, oh, this child is improving, they look more confident, but I had no real idea about that until you gave me a structure and things to really look out for. So that's changed my way that I work now too. So thank you.
Oh my goodness. You need to thank all of the field staff, and I'll just receive the gratitude for you. I think what you say though is like why I think it's so exciting to teach in Mindleaps too, is that it really allows you to try to think about how do kids' brains develop, and then you end up thinking about how your own brain develops and lots of other things. And it's why it's like it's never boring, right? To try to figure out like what puzzle pieces are clicking or not clicking, and what can we do to try to like open up that world for this brain in front of you that's like moving arms and doing things. And that's something that like Mindleaps has been trying to figure out during COVID, and how do we pivot those learning models to be something that still has high energy and can still create those communities, even if we're not doing our traditional dance class in that same space. And I wonder what COVID has been a little bit like for you. I know it's really hard to be going from like West End to being told, who knows when there'll be live theater again. But also you have like now this breadth of experience from all of your work around the world. What has COVID brought you?
Well, first of all, I was working in Germany. I was in a show when COVID hit in Europe, and that was I was doing American in Paris. And yeah, so we had our last show unknowingly on the 6th of March, and the contract was cut short. But in some ways, Rebecca, like I'm always expecting the unexpected in like that to happen. And I think as a creative freelancer, and that is in any field of creative freelance, you become kind of hardened and understanding that everything's transient, everything's impermanent. And even if you have a career and it says on the paper, all right, it'll finish in June, that can finish at any time because you can be injured. That's happened to me. I had to end a contract. You can get closed. That happened to me. The show got closed twice on 2 West End shows I did. The producer came in 2 weeks before the show, sat us down in the auditorium and said, show's closing, ticket sales went down. And you're out of work. So even when you think you even have a 1-year contract, which is probably the best you could hope for, it goes like that. And I'm so used to that happening all the time now that I just enjoy it when I'm doing it and think, oh, that was good fun doing that, but it could be the last one, might not be. And I think as performers or creative people, we learn to adapt and we learn to change and mold and find new skills. And so for COVID, losing my job, yes. Upsetting, surprised, no. So you just find other ways to work. We have to. We're like chameleons, changing all the time. So for me, I just thought in March when that happened, I thought, okay, what am I interested in? What can I do now? And I trained as a foreign language teacher. English is a foreign language. So I did my TEFL course, which I think in the States is called TESOL. Yeah, so I did that, and I started teaching online, and I'm doing that now. So I'm teaching mainly children in Asia English every day.
Cool.
Yeah, so now a language teacher. But it was something I was interested in anyway, and wanting to find time to do that because I thought, well, I'm working so much now with children internationally. It would be great to know some techniques on how to impart language in fun and interesting ways. So for me, that part of it was also geared towards my working with dance, and now I'm developing my own course with dance and language, theatre.
Wow.
Yeah, because I just think, well, we know what it's like, don't we, Rebecca? Like language comes with movement, and it's the same with singing. Like you can, through song and through script, it's just fantastic, and kids engage with it. Like, why do kids engage with it? Because it's interesting material. So that's what COVID's brought for me, and I'm really delighted that it presented the time and the chance for me to do that. But yeah, obviously
now that Guinea and Mr. Doumbouya hear that you're certified in TESOL, then you're gonna get signed up for Guinea again as soon as the borders open. What you say about the adaptability? I think a couple of our guests on Moments with Mindleaps have shared that. They've said very similar to kind of your themes here, that first of all, there's like this kind of like very like hardened grit. Nicole Correa, one of our favorite dancers, was like, "Oh, COVID, you just grab a chair and start those plies." And like just like you don't even like miss a step, you just keep going. But then also dancers adapt, right? So it's this wonderful combination of perseverance and adaptability that allow you to like keep building these steps and experiences that you put so nicely for us there. And leads me to my next question, which is very much tied to like wondering how you figured out that so well. I think a lot of young dancers, artists right now are at this point where they've been working to these careers, just like you've said, right? That 1-year contract, which seems like the golden brass ring that if you get that, everything becomes perfect. But actually, like, it doesn't even work like that anymore.
No.
What would you tell these young artists? How do they figure out what you figured out?
Well, first of all, I want to say sorry to them, because I think it's the hardest time to be coming out as a professionally trained dancer, if that's the path you're wanting to go into, like performing. I mean, it is just, I just feel for everybody. You spent all those years training and strength and grit and all these things to hit absolutely no jobs. At the moment, the West End's closed, the theatres in Europe that I've been working in are closed, Broadway's closed, and dance companies aren't recruiting, other companies are going under, rep theatres are closing left, right and centre. It's just terrible, but we have other skills as dancers, as singers, as actors and musicians, and we can think outside this box. How can I use these skills transferably? Like, what do I feel passionate about, and what can I just think laterally about at the moment? Because it might, let's hope theatre comes back, but in the meantime, you can be asking yourself what passions you have and what skills you have. And another thing, Rebecca, that I just love, like, I used to always think, oh, like, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. Like, I just felt like that all the time about myself. There's always someone better at you in absolutely everything. But then someone said to me, but how about this? You are a master at being a jack of all trades.
Ooh.
I was like, yes, okay, I can take that. And that's juggling, basically, like having your fingers in different pies. And doing different passion projects, finding different ways to make an income, to ways to spend your time and live your life. And it can be in a number of ways. And I always had that. I have a small craft business, so I always had that running alongside. That's my name is Pickle Idea. That's my craft business. And was running that alongside my performing career and my teaching, always taught as well. And I then did Airbnb and became a host and welcomed people from around the world into my flat. And there's just ways you can do things if you're just a little bit like, let's get out our little theatre box and see what's out there. Yeah.
It's like, as I listen to you, I think like my eyes are just like widening because I'm learning things I never knew about you, Sheila. And I love it. And I think that I just wish young artists could hear this. It's like it's those skills that transfer, as you say, and it's the ability to like get out of that fear box, right? And you're not giving anything up. You're just adding to the experiences, the skills, the talents, the possibilities that you have. So okay. So our new phrase is a master of a jack of all trades. I love it.
Yeah.
And I also hear what you say, Sheila. Like earlier, you talked about, you know, you needed to find your why after that time in Moscow. And now here again, that's like such a good message for all of us is, you know, the why should still be there. COVID, not COVID, you know, difficult paths going forward. If that why is still there, then you're on the right path. And if it's not there, then like look at all these different ways that we can leverage those skills that we've been training hard to succeed at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I think it's like maybe even more exciting to know what you're going to be doing in the next 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. But Sheila, I hope it definitely somehow involves both performing, yes, the craft business, but absolutely Guinea, and using all of these new skills you've developed, but even all of your skills before that were more than anything we could possibly ask for. So thank you so much for spending time with us today. Thank you for these insights and just being the person that you are in the world that we know.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you to everyone there that's watching, and the Guinea people, and in Rwanda. I really hope to be back with you as soon as it's safe to fly. I will be there, and I can't wait to start another chant.
Okay, we were waiting for the chant to start, and we are saying thank you so much. Okay, enjoy your time. Stay safe. Thank you so much, Sheila.
Bye, Rebecca.